You're listening to The RealWealth Show with Kathy Fedke, the real estate investor's resource.
Our guest today was a mortgage broker in the 90s and 2000s, and over the past decade, she's been a real estate broker helping people acquire real estate. She's made some ups and downs in her real estate investing over the years, but she's here to tell us how she has since acquired 15 units, and they are successfully rented out and appreciating every single day. Joanne Mendoza also just came out with a book called The Power of Real Estate Investing for Women, which again just came out this January. So Joanne, welcome back to the Real Wealth Show.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Now, you grew up with seven, is that right? Six other sisters?
Yes.
I think that qualifies you to write a book about investing for women.
Yeah. I guess I just sort of, upon, reading hundreds of books, I was like, wait a minute, a lot of these are written by non-female. And so I was like, what would it look like if I wrote one? But obviously there were lots of books by female authors as well. It's just, I think they're not as readily available as those other ones, So I don't know. I just kind of asked the question and I took action. And so here we go.
Well, congratulations. It takes a lot to write a book, that's for sure. My second book is 5 years in the making, so hopefully I'll get around to finishing that.
Oh, yes. I remember your first book. I still have it here. So, yeah, wonderful. Got it from one of the events that I attended. So.
Oh, great. I was so glad.
Can't wait to read your second one.
Well, I think our listeners would love to know how you got started in real estate and what it's done for you.
Yeah, so as a lender, I think that's really where my journey came from. And I think you and I have spoken about the lending industry at some point, because I do mention you in my book. And
oh, wonderful.
And in the back when we first interviewed, where the lending crisis happened. And but in 1990 was really my first experience. I was, recall that, where you aren't hired permanent. It was a temp agency. And Sears had a mortgage company and in Walnut Creek. And so amongst all the other jobs that I was doing, this was one area that they called me to. And I said, okay. And from then on, I think I just kind of, it like spoke to me, the industry itself, how I was serving people, and the things that I could contribute, and that I could escalate my positions within the company. And so it sort of went from there, from 1990, and then I got into, you're always asking the question, well, what else is there? So from that, it took on other positions in other companies, but the one I remember most was in 95, where I joined Pacific Thrift and Loan in Walnut Creek. Back then they were subprime, and so I didn't know what all these terminologies meant at the time. But anyway, fast forward years later, I was always in the subprime. When the market was hit, or it was going crazy, we were getting bought out also by bigger fish, right? The bigger fish eat the little fish. And so, and I just kind of, was promoted positions, and there was a VP within the company that just liked my work ethics and just, kept making sure that I was taken care of. And she goes, well, do you have any other siblings that you think could join? And sure enough, I hired 3 of the 6 siblings, and one of them was kind of wanted a new venture, but the other 2 are still in it today. So one's a senior funder, and the other one is an account manager for commercial real estate. So, they've done well over the years. But really, while I was working in the back office, you don't really ever expose yourself or question how all these people are getting these loans and where they're finding these properties. And so then once I connected real estate agents to, you know, to buyer, to lender, and just put all the pieces together, I was like, wow, I think this is something I could do. And so in 2005, I decided to get my real estate license after having been in the lending industry for, almost over a decade now. And so I passed, and I didn't really know what to do with it. So I hung it with a small brokerage firm, and I was just helping out family members because I was still working, for for the lender. And by then we got bought out by Fremont Investment and Loan, different from Fremont Bank. So, but really the venture of, okay, so let me just get there. So then I was like, okay, well then maybe I could buy my own place, so then you start asking these questions, and then you go buy your own place.
Yeah. When did you,
sorry?
when did you buy your first property?
I think I bought it in 1998 or 99.
And how did you do that?
And
Did
I
you
didn't
save money for a down payment, or?
I did. I went with Wells Fargo. Somehow I connected with someone who said, I'm buying my own place. You should look. And so I was like, what? I just got a car. I got a car on my own without having my parents co-sign for me. And that was
a big deal.
So then I was like, okay, I guess I could try it. Doesn't hurt. I've been, I have a secure job, and let's see what happens. So I did. And I think I got the place for 105. It was a place in Concord, California.
Wow.
And I put very little down, FHA, and I got it. I was like, wow, this is on my own without a co-signer. So
it's a big deal.
It was.
And then you find out, well, gosh, this isn't really that different than paying rent, right? Except you're paying it to yourself.
That's right. And then your property appreciates. So sure enough, it did appreciate, and so as we're in the 2000s, remember that whole panic when we thought the whole system was going to crash because we were
I had food storage. I think I asked Rich to go get a gun. It was like, oh my gosh, it's all coming to an end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then obviously we went to January 1st, 2000. We're like, okay, we're good. Nothing's happening. So the market continues to rise. Real estate is just, moving full steam ahead. And then I said, well, maybe it's possible that I could buy my siblings' property. So I went off on a shopping spree. I got my two younger sisters a property. I put it in my name. We got a home in Reno, Nevada, second home. And then I bought probably a couple more that because I didn't understand the investing portion where your tenants can actually pay this mortgage for you. That part was not there yet. I think I was really just thinking about appreciation. And
appreciation. It's a California idea. And plus you having been a mortgage broker, you understood the power of leverage that the bank could basically is willing to lend on real estate with very little down. They don't do that for other businesses. You have to have a lot more skin in the game, but in real estate, not so much. And when you work in the industry, it's like, wow, I'm giving everybody else these loans. Maybe I should take some, right?
That's right. Yeah. And it was just like, it was so easy, to be honest with you. It was almost too easy that it was scary.
Right. I know the feeling. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, wow. I did not, especially in the early 2000s, right? There was hardly anything to it. Just fill out some applications and then you got yourself a loan.
Yeah. Yes. And and that was exactly it. And I said, now, make sure you guys pay the mortgage, because I've got my own place and I have the second home, mom's going to help me out there, but we're good. So, and then you not only have a first mortgage, you also have a second mortgage. So you get that 80-20,
Right.
80-20 mortgage, and it was, I don't know, it was so easy. It was not even funny. And I'm so glad that they've learned the lesson of being that flexible with lending. And
Yeah, I don't even
allow us
know.
now.
That's funny. I haven't talked about the 80-20 loan for a while. I don't even know if those exist, but that was pretty common. You get the first lender who is the safest, right? They come in at 80% LTV. And then a second lender comes in for the final 20%. I mean, that's risky, but it was a pretty common loan. Do you know if that even exists today?
Only 80-10. I've seen 80-10-10. So you'll put 10% of your money down, and there
Okay.
is a second. And not every lender will do that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I think everyone is kind of learning their lesson and just being very cautious today.
Sure.
Which is
Yeah. Nobody
awesome.
wants to come in second at 100% LTV.
No way. No way. I don't think anybody should do that today. And if you are, you miss that whole
Yeah.
subprime crash.
Yeah.
So, and then, as I mentioned, Craig and Arlene Turner, which, are big, huge, fans of Real Wealth, and you and Rich. I don't know how he found you, but he listens to a lot of talks, and he somehow came across you. But meanwhile, this was happening, I'm transitioning more to real estate, and I was helping him find properties in Stockton. This is where he's from.
Oh, yes.
And so we're looking at duplexes, and Kathy, if I had it in me to just pull the trigger, we were looking at duplexes for 200,000, below 200. I mean, I would have just
even
bought
less than
them.
that. Yeah.
Yes. And so anyway, they did need some work, and one day, after months of working together, I think he came across you, and that's when we stopped looking. And a couple months later, he and I touched base. He said, well, this is what I'm doing. So then he tells me all about you, and then I get some information myself. And I was like, as soon as I got the information, I connected with a few of your affiliates, and that was it.
Amazing. So you ended up where did you end up buying?
I bought in Ohio and Indianapolis. In fact,
Okay.
I actually had a couple of rentals here in California, and then I 1031 exchanged out of those to buy the 5. I think it was 5.
Wow. How have those properties done? Because it sounds like you went in pretty early.
Yeah, it was pretty early, but I know for a fact the Indianapolis, when I sold them, they had already appreciated. So I really like that market for its appreciation. And then the Ohio, I still have all of them today. All of them today. And then I ventured off into Michigan, and I'm also now in Alabama. And then Texas is my most recent purchase.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Do you find it difficult to purchase today when you were purchasing property when it was a lot cheaper a few years ago?
No, because it's I think what's hard is the availability of the properties. I think the inventory is, posts every week of what's available. And if you don't respond to her on Sunday, come Monday, she's like, I'm sorry, that one's already taken.
It's gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the case across the country.
Yes, for sure. But during this time of just experiencing these assets, I was doing other things. I'm attending a lot of the Tony Robbins events, and I think he it really propels the meaning of Unleash the Power Within. I don't know if you've ever attended any of his events. Sorry about that noise.
I have
But
not. Can you believe it?
of all the events that you attend, Robert Kiyosaki
And so many personal development. Rich has read all of his books and watched most of his tapes. We just haven't been to a live event, and I've heard it's something you've got to see at least once.
I think to do the UPW, I think you will just unlock even more. I wouldn't be surprised if you go, well, we're going to do something more with, real wealth. And then a couple of years down the road, I'm going to see this, in ginormous change within you. Because that's kind of what he had done. And it isn't anything that, in fact, it could be the words and how, if you stay open, you will be receptive to receiving them. And and you look at the possibilities, of if they can do it, I don't see why I couldn't do it. And so just from that thought, I journal a lot, and I was like, well, why don't I just put this in a book? And so that's kind of how that transpired. And after 2 years, 2.5 years, you find your editor, your publisher, and then everything just starts coming together, and you're like, wow, this is really happening.
It takes so much self-discipline. My husband's writing a book right now, and if you go too many days without writing it, you get rusty. So he's very good about doing a little bit every day, keeping it fresh. I'm more the person that lock me up in a cabin somewhere for a week, and that's all I'm going to do. Otherwise I get distracted. But either way, it takes a lot. So good for you. Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. There are, my little office here, and the daily distractions, and I also have a baby that I'm a guardian of, and so when I get him he's out there. I had to close the door so he can't interrupt us, but I had him since he was 5 days old. And thankfully, to his well-being, his parents have passed all the programs and were able to take him back, but we all connected, and they allowed us to continue, having him a couple of times a week. And so it's just been awesome.
What a beautiful story. Oh my goodness. That's a dream of mine.
Yeah. Well, in 2018, I just decided to fill out the application again. Is it possible? I mean, I have friends up the street from where I live, and they're like, well, we went through this program and we just fill out the application. They'll look in your house, your house becomes open to them, so they could check you out and make sure they're, you're clean and everything, and that the home, that the baby has a secure home. And I just decided to do it. It took about 1.5 years, and finally I got the right call, and we picked up the baby on New Year's Eve, 2019, December.
Is it a foster care program or a different one?
Yeah, foster to adopt. Obviously my intention was to adopt, but I think, that isn't the calling for me right now, where, since I have him, and he isn't going to be mine full time, at least we get this shared love.
That's beautiful. Good.
So,
wow. So what are the big lessons you've learned from both being a mortgage broker, being a real estate agent, and being an investor?
Yeah. So as a mortgage broker, I think it was, although I enjoyed the interactions over the phone, I think being outside and really connecting and seeing people face to face is more what I love. I enjoy, and I also love looking at the homes. I think I became really passionate about what goes into a home, these 4 walls, the kind of roof that you have, and the terminology within them. You can get now I can look at a roof and go, oh, that's composition shingles, or that's,
That's great. Yeah.
those are wood shakes, or that's a metal roof, or tiles. And you gain more experience really just by being there. And
Mhm.
this is where I learned, being um, behind the desk and on the phone only, that the relationship that they have, that our clients have, buyers or sellers, with a realtor, tends to be more of a connection, and more honest, because you actually see them versus talking to them on the phone,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's what I realized, that I really like being out in the open more. And
Mhm.
then as an investor, I one of the things that I had learned from the Wealth Mastery program was, you take the money that you earn and you don't just invest it in 401k or the stock market, where these are like, you don't know what's going to happen. Take it and invest in real estate. And that's kind of, these tangible four walls that that you give tenants an opportunity of renting it. Where what
Mhm.
we're providing are homes for people. So I think that is very meaningful, as
Absolutely.
landlords, as investors of these residential homes. And I think that the investors should feel proud of owning these homes, because you're really putting people in those homes. Today I'm driving around the freeway, and I see people. It saddens me to see them living in tents, on the side of the road. And it's just, it's
It's a
it's
hard
it's
way to live.
heartbreaking. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's always been my passion, is knowing that we're able to go into these neighborhoods, fix up homes, make them very comfortable, very livable, and affordable for families who tend to stay for quite a long time, because we care so much. Our renovation standards are so high. These homes aren't just for making money. They do make money, but they're also, like you said, they're providing homes for people. And the better the home, the longer they stay.
absolutely, and as I gain more wisdom over the years, that's kind of, the really the heartwarming thought process behind it is, it isn't just a business transaction. You're really providing something um, memorable for these people. You see how they decorate the walls, and the kids
Mm.
are there. And I remember being a tenant,
Yeah.
also, and it's really just I don't know. It was a good reflection on why we do what we do. And so,
Yeah. Yeah. We've all, I mean, most of us have been tenants. I remember when I was struggling 20 something year old, and I was renting this house in Rockridge, Oakland,
oh
and I was a
yes,
single mom, had a baby, and I had the sweetest landlord. And, there were times that I was a few days late, and he would, he'd be okay with that. And sometimes even waive the late fee. Of course, he was just managing it himself. But it was my home, and it's where I raised my little girl. It's where I met Rich. And so, just like any business owner, you can be a good one or not a good one. But when you're a good one, it can make a world of difference. We have a tenant in Pennsylvania who loves our house there so much. They're really trying to find a way to buy it. And we're really going to try to make that possible, maybe through seller financing, or, helping them, just knowing you can live here until you're ready to do that. We're not going to kick you out. So yeah, you
yeah,
can definitely make a difference in this industry.
that's right. That's right. And that's exactly what I aim to do. My goal is to hopefully get 50 units. That's my goal. And then, I can fund my financial freedom,
Mhm.
and then kind of, do real estate as I want to, not have to, uh, and kind of transition from working in real estate to being more an entrepreneurship in real estate. investing. So
Yeah.
that's been my goal.
So as a someone with the experience in mortgages, and I don't know if you have the answer to this question, but how do you get to 50 units from a financing perspective?
Yeah. So, um, through uh, your website is just full of information and just asking questions. Your team, you guys have just been, pretty awesome in giving advice and just pointing us in the right directions. I we know that Fannie Mae doesn't allow more than 10 uh, properties finance. Now you can buy maximum 4 units within, and they would call that one property, right? So I could actually fulfill my bucket quicker if all I bought were 4 units, right? Because then that would be, what is that, 4 times 10, that's already 40 units, right? So, but because I have a mixture of residential, single family homes, duplexes, and one triplex. Um, the the plan would be to start paying down and paying off the smaller amounts so that they would be free and clear. And then I could then use the other savings to go and buy some more. So it is a plan because I don't have the funds to go out and buy, those properties outright. But another portal that I'm using is the self-directed IRA.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to leverage from there, where you put maybe half the down payment, and the IRA lender would finance the rest. So that's another one. I haven't approached the lender yet with like seller financing, but that might be something that I would look into.
Wonderful. Well, a final question. How are some of the ways that you're living real wealth? And by that, I mean living life on your own terms, the way you want to, with the people you want to do it with.
Yeah, I think that is the ultimate goal. And by that, I'll give you an example. I'm going to be 50 in December of this year, and prior to this, years ago, I was wondering. We pose these questions with my family, like, oh, for your 40th birthday, where are we going to go? So we do something, nice. We go to Costa Rica. We go to Italy. We go to Europe. We go to South America. And during this questioning, I'm like, well, my 50th birthday is coming up, and what is it that I would like to do? And one of them is I'm actually getting ready to go to Kilimanjaro. So we're going to go to Africa to do the safari, and then I'm going to summit Kilimanjaro.
Wonderful.
So it isn't just, it's a 19,500 at least. And so you have to prepare yourself for this kind of exotic adventure, right?
Wow.
So it is a lot of preparation to it, but I think it's going to be, worthwhile in the end. But that, I think, just saying yes to a lot of things without boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do the things that you want when you want. I think that's the most important factor, and to give when you want without having to look at your checkbook and say, what's my balance like? I don't know if I can contribute that. Or when you buy something, you're not looking at the price tag. You just go out and buy it. I think that would be, kind of my my unlimited, financial freedom. There is really just the ability to give, to do, to have, and be wherever we can, without having any limitations. That would be my goal.
Wonderful. Well, any final tips for our listeners who are just starting out investing or thinking about buying their next house or selling?
Yes, or selling, right? So I think that there's going to be a lot of reservations, and there's so much information out there too, that you can find. But you can't get bogged down in information. Number one, I'd say go out and read a book, read a couple books, and once you get the information, really the best thing to do is just take action. You don't really know what you can afford until you go out and find out. Otherwise everything is just an idea, a wish. But until you take action, it's just a thought.
Yeah, great advice. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here on the Real Wealth Show. I do hope I get to see you in person sometime soon at a live event. We'll see.
I'm looking forward to it. I enjoy those so much.
Oh, I look forward to doing that again. Maybe we'll do it somewhere exotic, like, I don't know, Puerto Rico. How about that? No.
There you go. I'm there.
I just heard, I interviewed Peter Schiff and he said home prices have doubled in the last few months there. So maybe not the best investment opportunity now, but who knows? Maybe they'll double again. Anyway, I think they will. I actually think they will in Florida. We're still getting them so cheap there.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kathy.
All right. Thank you so much and good luck with your book. And thank you for joining us here at the Real Wealth Show. If you want to invest in properties in some of the fastest growing parts of the U.S., but where properties are still pretty cheap, relatively speaking, and the rents cover the expenses and some extra, which we call cash flow, well, you can just go to realwealthshow.com and sign up there. It's free. Then you can get an investment counselor to help you come up with your investing plan. Thank you so much again for joining us here on The Real Wealth Show, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as an offer to buy or sell any securities or to make or consider any investment or course of action. For more information, go to realwealthshow.com.